argument is unsigned int star UUID, and this is the unique ID for every person. So I used a debugger and saw what one was, and another character I have named Pone Naglo, he has this particular UID, so I copy that into a buffer. And then this next argument is called region. I don't know what the hell that is, but it's always at this spot in memory, so I just grab it. So now I know all my arguments, so I just set my function pointer to be the address of this function in memory, and then I call it. And then the last two arguments there, one was just some hard-coded thing in the binary, so I know it's always right, because that's just what they used every time, so I'll use it too. And the final thing is just some C++ string that they had that happens to not have any data. And so you call this, and it works. All right. This is an example. So they're getting increasingly complex, and really the reason I was less persuaded by someone who told me not to do take off your clothes function as I was that it was the most complicated function you can imagine. So we're getting a little more complex here, but this one's slightly more complex. So there's this send chat from viewer, and that's if you want to make the person say something. So you reverse engineer it, and this one and the last one had this too. There's these C++ strings. And these aren't just car stars. These are complicated, well, somewhat complicated data structures. And this is basically what they look like. There's 4 bytes. I don't know what it is. It doesn't matter. And then there's a pointer to a string, or it's sort of like a enum where it can either be a pointer to a string, or if it's a very short string, they just put it right there into the structure. And then there's a linked, and then there's something on the end. I don't know what it is, but F seems to work fine. Now that's the fun of reverse engineering is you don't have to know how things work. You just have to know how they work well enough to do what you want to do. All right, so then this is a string that says I've been hacked, and so it's if you can read ASCII or binary, you can get the idea. So this is how you set it up. This is how I make a C++ string. So I malloc it. I set some of my things like I said before, linked of the string, and then I set up a function pointer and I call the function, and it works. Do we have time for this, or should we do this?
9:40. Yeah, we have 5 more minutes.
Okay, so I'll bore you with one more example before the demo. You're my prisoner now. So the other ones, they started to get complicated with that structure I had to build up, but this example shows things can get really complicated. So those I could call basically straight up as functions, and this is I have to call it as a method of a class. And the difference is that in C++, if you look at a disassembled C++ program, the class is the this pointer of the class is usually passed in the ECX register, and so you have to, and then they use that to get information from about the class. And so these functions, this function I want to call called start currency by, which happens to be the function that if you have you're online and you really want that furry lap dance and you only have 5 lindens and it costs 100 lindens, you can use your credit card and you can buy more lindens. And so this is what that function does. So this would be useful for us because if they happen to already have a credit card registered with Linden, you can just call this and have them charge $10,000 worth of lindens and then steal it. So this is a good function and why I spent a little time looking at it. So anyway, so we have to set it up so that in ECX, when we call this function, there's all these right data structures set up so that the function will actually make it, which is a pain. Okay, so and then this is just an example of what I said actually happens. So this is the function start currency by. You can see this right here. So it moves ECX into ESI, which is so and then it starts doing things off of ESI down there. So that's it setting up, or it's moving things into members of its class. And so you have to make sure when this function gets called that we have something in ECX that can be dereferenced like that. So this is what we do. Luckily, again, open source helped us, so I could copy their class that was the definition of their class, and then I just make sure that I set it up sort of like they do. And okay, so I can set up a fake class, and then I just have to make sure it ends up in ECX. And the way I do that is I just make sure that I call in my DLL, I make sure it's in a class, and then I'm calling it, So instead of just calling a fake function pointer, now I'm calling a fake method. And then everything works out great. And this is the actual code that does it. So sets up the fake class. And any one of these things that isn't there, the thing will crash because it tries to dereference it or it tries to copy into it or whatever. And then a wrapper is the thing that calls the method. All right. So what's the payload look like in the end? Well, it's a DLL, and it calls functions within the Second Life client, and you could optionally get money from the credit card of the person. Then you figure out how much money they can spend, and then you give all that money to a person, you probably, and then you have the person shout something. And that's what the DLL that we have looks like. So anyway, I guess it's time for the demo.
Okay, I'm gonna hook it up there.
Yeah. So pretty soon you guys will be able to see I'm here. Very sporting of them, I think, too.
Yeah. We have a shout out to Lyndon being good sports about this. We are trying to help you.
All right. So.
So you can see we were good Second Life citizens. The dangerous area is cordoned off by a sign saying "Warning: Exploitation in Progress." And at the bottom, you can see we have.
Hold on a second.
Okay.
My mouse was not responding there. Let me try it again. There we go. Can you see it?
Yep.
All right.
Okay. And so we have the Metasploit window. Right here, we're going to run the Metasploit command line interface. Basically, to my QuickTime exploit, I'm going to use the DLL payload. We'll give it the IP address of the server to connect back to for the subsequent stages.
Show them the pink box.
Oh yeah, the pink box. That's important too. This right here is the most evil pink box you'll ever see in your life. Everyone thinks these pink boxes are totally innocuous, but no, they're seriously bad. And so that is the object that has our QuickTime video as a texture. And so basically, whenever you're in range of that object, which happens to be about 200 feet in the virtual world, you can get owned. So and also it's also important to note, you don't have to be able to see it. Like I think we mentioned this earlier, you can put it underground as long as you are on the same land that texture is.
You can build a house and put it inside, like the refrigerator inside the house, and you would still get owned.
Yeah, as long as you're within 200 virtual feet of it. So, but it's a little more subtle when you walk into the house, and also they take a lot more time to build the house. And as we said, we're not really that great at Second Life building stuff. But a pink box, yeah. But a pink box is well within our capabilities.
All right, so shall I do it? So I started the Metasploit server, and then I'm just going to walk into the land here between the signs, and then just take my fingers off the keyboard so I'm not pressing anything. And if it works, you'll see stuff happen in the Metasploit window, and then you'll see the person shout. And you'll see that the money's been given too, but you won't actually, it'll say like, you have given money to. And all you can do is hit OK. Like, it's not like, no, I didn't mean to do that. OK, so here it goes.
All right, got a connection. The stager is being loaded.
Oh, yeah.
Upload is complete. You shout, "I've got hacked," and you pay the money. So now walk around a little bit.
And I can still walk around and do whatever I want.
So basically, Second Life is running fine, no issues. So except for the whole fact that you gave someone money, you have no idea that anything's wrong.
And obviously we didn't have to do that. And if you're really tricky, you could probably make that not even show up. You could like intercept that packet that came back, and so they didn't even see that. But then what would be the fun of the demo if you didn't know anything happened? And so the other thing that's funny is that now we're running in the context of an execution handler too.
Yeah.
You just can't tell. Everything still runs normal, but things are far from normal.
The main thread is totally messed up at this point, but it's still alive.
And if you look, I have $0 Linden dollars now.
Oh.
I used to have 5,000 something.
Up in the upper right corner.
So, anyway.
All right.